Some meals make us grow. Some meals save lives. But there are meals that rot the soul. Throughout human history, there have been moments when a knife sliced into flesh, not to feed the body, but to touch the untouchable. These are meats that were never meant to be tasted, dishes that should never have names. They exist as cracks in our humanity, festering just beneath the polished skin of civilization. And every time someone dares to place them on the table, a door to darkness creaks open. What if someone volunteered to let you eat them? What would you do if you were invited to a dinner and the menu wasn't found in any cookbook? Would you sit down? Would you take a bite? Tonight, we descend into 3 true stories, 3 bizarre, silent, and bone-chilling feasts. From Japan to Norway, from the deep sea to the frozen tundra, forbidden flesh is still being consumed, not by hunger, but by hearts that no longer beat.
Forbidden meat when humanity devours the darkness. Meat. It sounds familiar. Something that belongs on a plate, in a pot, beneath the kitchen knife. But forbidden meat isn't meant to be eaten. It is a frozen whisper, a rotting memory of something so taboo it has no true name. Only the shiver that runs down your spine when it's mentioned. No one dares say forbidden meat out loud. It's only whispered behind doors where light dares not reach, where breath quickens and hands tremble, while someone sinks their teeth into something no one was ever meant to taste. It's the flesh of sacred beings, slaughtered in blood rites. The carved remnants of fellow humans, seasoned with salt, roasted over fire, and swallowed with insane delight. It's the prehistoric meat of long-extinct beasts, unearthed from icy graves, steaming in the hands of the fearless or the damned. Forbidden meat does not stink. It does not rot. It breathes in silence. It watches you through its red, quivering flesh like an eye from the underworld, wide, unblinking. And those who have tasted it, even once, are never human again. Because forbidden meat doesn't just pass through your stomach, it punctures your soul. It doesn't just stain your lips with blood, it drowns your conscience in a pulpy abyss where morality suffocates beneath layers of ancient hunger. Eating forbidden meat is not about survival nor curiosity. It is a cold-blooded ritual where the tongue no longer seeks flavor, but writhes in terror at what it has invited in. Some eat to prove they are stronger than ethics. Others believe they will absorb the power of the slain. There are banquets with no candles, only skulls. No wine, only warm blood. No toasts, only the muffled sobs of forgotten spirits. And every time a knife carves into forbidden meat, it is not cooking, it is summoning. You think eating human flesh is the final line? It isn't. Picture someone eating themselves, gnawing at their own body in a spiral of self-destruction, where hunger overcomes pain and identity melts away with each strip of skin. Some have done it, and when they swallowed the final bite, they were no longer themselves. Forbidden meat is hell's whisper wrapped in ordinary flesh. It is proof that deep inside every human, there is a chamber, dark and locked, where we long to touch what we should fear. And when you eat it, you do not simply break rules, you unlock a door that your ancestors sealed with thousands of years of terror. Don't ask what the meat is. Ask yourself, will you still be you after tasting it? Because once forbidden meat enters your gut, something else awakens inside you, something that does not belong to this world.
The cannibal cult. Japan's dinner without return. Tokyo, the city of neon lights, bullet trains, and cutting-edge technology. But beneath that modern surface lies a crack, a deep crack, one that leads to a place where light dares not shine. And in that hidden space, on a grim night in 2012, a dinner took place, and on the menu was nothing short of human flesh. This wasn't a murder. It wasn't an accident. It was a ritual, a voluntary, publicly organized event inside a luxury apartment in the heart of the capital. A man, having recently undergone gender reassignment surgery, offered his own severed genitals, not to science, not to a museum, but to a group of people who wanted to eat them. 5 guests paid thousands of dollars to attend this grotesque banquet. They sat around the table, raised their glasses like gentlemen, spoke politely, yet their eyes were as empty as corpses. The chef carefully prepared the special course as if he were handling gourmet foie gras, except this time, the oven didn't hold food, it held part of a man's body. They ate, they chewed, they swallowed, and they smiled. You might think this is a rumor, a twisted urban legend, but Japanese news outlets reported on it. At that time, the law did not explicitly prohibit cannibalism if all parties consented. That terrifying loophole turned Tokyo into the stage for a nightmare dressed in sophistication. But why did they do it? Hunger? Curiosity? Or were they trying to touch the most forbidden threshold of humanity to see if they were still human afterward? They didn't eat to survive. They ate to break the line between morality and monstrosity. Some say after that night they began dreaming of being eaten in return, not by others, but by the darkest version of themselves. Some couldn't sleep again. Some vanished without a trace. As for the man who offered himself, he's still alive, but hasn't spoken a single word since. Cannibalism is no longer the peak of madness. Madness is when an entire civilized society stays silent, watching the door to darkness creak open and calls it personal freedom. Madness is when men in suits, wearing glasses and fine manners, are the very ones gnawing on human bones between sips of wine. And the most terrifying part? They felt nothing at all. Would you like this to be adapted into a video narration script with whispering female voice cues and a specialist Japanese male voice that fail the effect? We need a complimentary additional therapeutic mind. We are receive whispering at the moment. The secret whale feast, when the sea demands blood. In the far north of Norway, where the sun only visits for a few fleeting hours each day, where the sea is not a playground, but the ancestral memory of survival, a secret feast is unfolding in the dark. There is no menu, no advertisements, only whispers in old wooden cabins where people eat what the rest of the world is trying to protect: whale meat. Under dim candlelight, a white cloth is laid out. Deep red wine fills the glasses. And then, slices of minke whale meat are served, tender, pink like young beef, but carrying something deeper than taste, a chill that runs along the spine. The elders say, this is the sea's gift. But the world says, that's a vanishing species. They do not care. They laugh. They eat. They tell tales of the old days, when hunting whales was the only way to survive the frozen winters. And now, even with full supermarkets and modern convenience, they still eat, not because they need to, but because they refuse to forget. This feast isn't just about consuming a colossal creature. It's about defiance, a silent rebellion against the rest of humanity, a growl from the gut that says, this is our tradition. Who dares to stop us? And strangely, in those quiet, flickering banquets, man and monster switch roles. You see the hunter's eyes,
the chef's concentration, the eater's smile. And you wonder, who is the real predator here? Who is truly endangered? They say eating whale meat preserves culture. But what culture feeds on the blood of the dying? They say it's freedom. But what kind of freedom must hide behind closed doors, in secret smoke, in whispered toasts? They say it's identity. But when identity is tied to extinction, is it still worth preserving? Each bite of whale meat is another final breath of the ocean. They laugh, they raise their glasses, but beneath the sea, where whale carcasses drift and sink, a sound rises, not waves, but a curse that cannot be spoken. And you know what? Some feasts will never end, not until the ocean itself turns to ash.
Forbidden meat. When humanity bites into its own conscience. There is no act that exposes the core of human nature more than eating. And among the endless offerings of nature, there are things that must never pass our lips. Some meats carry the dead silence of a creature torn apart, the unspoken curse of the ocean, the gaze of something that once begged to live. People call it forbidden meat, not just because the law forbids it, but because even the conscience trembles in its presence. To eat forbidden meat is not simply to consume flesh, it is to shred through layers of morality, to rip the gut from one's humanity and throw it into the fire along with the sizzling scent of fresh blood. It is a declaration to the universe. I know this is wrong, but I will eat it anyway. And the moment the knife sinks into that meat, whether it be human, whale, or a 10,000-year-old mammoth, the boundaries begin to dissolve. The law, if not written clearly, will stay silent. Culture, if rooted in tradition, will protect it. Evil, when wrapped in curiosity or heritage, will dress itself in innocence. But one thing never stays silent: the conscience. It scratches, it howls, it bites back from within. And no matter how calm the eater may appear, their eyes will forever be haunted by what they've devoured, not in their stomach, but in their mind, in their blood, in their dreams. People eat out of curiosity, out of defiance, out of tradition, but every reason is just a mask for the desire to touch the untouchable, that place where life and death lie side by side on a blood-soaked plate. There are feasts where the clinking of forks on plates sounds like fingernails scraping a coffin, where chewing resembles the cracking of bones beneath the earth, where toasts are not raised to celebrate, but to forget the guilt dripping from every bite. And they keep eating, because if they stop, they will have to face the truth. They are no longer human. Forbidden meat doesn't just wound the body, it rots the soul. It plants disease not in the gut, but in memory, where screams are buried in silence, where unseen eyes follow every step, where restless spirits whisper at night, "You ate me, now it's my turn." And if you think this is only the madness of lunatics, look around. What law can stop a man from offering himself for the feast? What tradition hasn't once trampled over blood to survive? What civilization has not cloaked its appetite and morality to hide the sound of chewing beneath the choir of progress? We have all eaten, whether through our mouths or through our silent complicity. And every time a piece of forbidden meat is served, a piece of humanity dies.
Summary: forbidden meat, a mirror reflecting humanity's darkest side. Forbidden meat is not just flesh, it is the thin line between man and monster, between morality and instinct, between the voice of conscience and the primal hunger buried deep within. When someone consumes forbidden meat, they are not merely digesting matter. They are swallowing a curse born of distorted history, blind tradition, and the grotesque mutation of so-called freedom. Inside every bite of forbidden meat lies a silent battle between the human and the inhuman self, between awareness and decay. And no matter the reason, survival, tradition, curiosity, or defiance, the price is always the same, a part of the soul severed forever. The more civilized our modern world becomes, the more sophisticated forbidden meat disguises itself as a legal dinner, a televised ritual, an act wrapped in the cloak of consent. But a name doesn't change the truth. What the law may permit, morality may never forgive. And a person who eats without revulsion may no longer be a person at all. Forbidden meat is the final symbol of humanity's self-destruction. And once swallowed, no one can ever vomit back the part of themselves they've lost.